I'm Alicia,
I'm Abbey,
and this is Mystic's Guide to the Universe.
your guide to practical spirituality.
Today we are giving you your spiritual journey survival checklist. These are things that we wish that we would have had on our spiritual journeys when we first started out to kind of help the process go a little bit smoother.
That being said, this is a lot like the checklist that you have before you go to the hospital to have a baby. You don't have to have everything on it, but it helps.
It does help. Spiritual journeys are incredibly difficult, so anything that you can have to make it a little bit better is a godsend.
Difficult is not a good enough word.
It's earth-shattering.
It is.
I always say that it's like a Jenga tower. Like your Jenga tower has fallen, and now you get to build it back up however you want it to be. I mean, the people who we were before our spiritual journeys, if they looked at us now, first of all, I'd be terrified. 20-year-old Alicia would be so scared. Even me a year ago, I can't believe where I am right now compared to where I was a year ago today. And the spiritual journey never stops, ever. You can think that you've gotten to this like ascended master level of spirituality. You're still learning things every single day, and you're still going through this journey every single day.
Yeah, it's almost a little annoying because every time you think you're on top, every time you're like, man, I've finally gotten to the top of the mountain. It's not.
There's another mountain,
There's another mountain,
and it's
dude.
twice as big.
And you have to become a new person, a stronger version of yourself to get to the top of that mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And then it continues. But the thing is, it is so worth it. I will not let what has happened to me in my life keep me from my best and highest timeline. I've worked too hard to just throw it away. And I can respect that there's some people who say, this is too hard, I tap out. I'm not pretending I've never been to the point where I was ready to throw it away.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was ready to just throw up my hands, walk away, and say, this is for the birds, I don't care.
What was the hardest part of your spiritual journey?
I think the hardest part was seeing myself through open eyes. Looking back at my past and just having to come to terms with the fact that I had spent so much time being obedient.
Oh, yeah.
That was the hardest part for me, was deprogramming so that I could become someone new.
Deprogramming and deconstructing is definitely, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hardest thing for me was being in a position where I had to hold space for other people when I could barely hold space for myself. And it still
Yes.
gets like that sometimes. I have put myself in a position in our community where I have to be there to hold space for people 100% of the time. And it's hard to do that when you feel like you're drowning. And I didn't understand that going through my journey when I wasn't knowledgeable about my energy and about my abilities. Was people needed me constantly, and I didn't have the space to put that energy into myself while still holding space for other people. Finding that balance is incredibly difficult, but it is incredibly important as well. So if we can do anything to make our listeners' journey a lot easier, I think that's why we went through what we did.
I agree.
So let's get down to the checklist.
Okay.
All right, number 1.
Number 1, journal.
Speaking of journals, why don't you guys go grab a journal and write down this list with us?
Oh, that's a great idea, because if you're listening to this podcast, you 100% have an empty journal sitting around somewhere.
Absolutely. And if you're driving while you're listening to this, don't worry. We're going to post this list on the website for you.
Oh, okay. That's a new thing we're doing.
Yeah. Number 1 is a journal. I think every spiritual person going through their journey needs a journal. Let's talk about why that is.
So a journal is a really good way to self-reflect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an even better way to see how far you've come.
Yes.
And so on days when you're feeling really down and you think, ugh, nothing is changing, Nothing ever gets better, and you need to look back and see how far you've come. You've got your journal right there. When spirit gives you inspiration, you've got your journal right there, and you can grab it, jot it down. When there are things in your mind cluttering the space that is normally empty, that you're able to clear your thoughts and think fully, but that space is all cluttered, write down the clutter in your journal. It's like putting it away in a box.
Yeah.
It's like filing it so that there's room in your mind again.
Finding synchronicities too is something that I always notice in my journals. If I'm journaling a year ago about the same exact topic, or I'm having the same messages or symbols that come to me, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, I forgot. I already went through this. I already decoded some of this. It can help kind of push you along. I always like to write letters to myself too. I will write letters to my higher self. I had a letter, this was a couple months ago, that I had written to myself a year in the future. And I read it just a few days after the date that I had written it a year prior. And it was just so wild to look and say, hey, I hope a year from now you have all of these things. And then I was able to go through that list and see how many of those things I had manifested for myself and which things I had dropped the ball on. And so it was just a nice reflection of who I wanted to be a year prior and who I am now. And it put a lot of things into perspective for me.
I like that.
Realistically, how many journals do you think you have?
That I write in or just have?
Journals that you are currently using.
5.
And they're all for different things?
Yes.
Same. If you're bad at journaling, if you don't know what to write, get a guided journal or a journal with prompts. Or do something called automatic writing, which is where you just go into a meditative state, you close your eyes, and you just let your guide speak through you on paper through your pen. And sometimes you can get really interesting messages that way.
That was something I always had a hard time doing. Automatic writing.
Did you have a hard time letting go?
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand how it works.
I just close my eyes, I put on some meditation music, and I call my guides in. You could call your deities in, and you just say, send me a message on paper. And then you just close your eyes and you just let your pen flow. It's going to be incredibly difficult to read. It's going to be really messy, and it's probably going to be, mine are always like lopsided, like they're always aligned very to the left.
So when you're writing, are you aware of the words that you're writing,
No.
or is your pen just going?
Your pen is just going, and I'm thinking about something completely different. Like I sometimes will call my subconscious forward, and I'll just kind of like go into the back and just write. And then when I look back, there's just different messages that might mean something to me at the time, or they might be complete gibberish and then I don't know what they mean until later, or possibly never.
I'm going to try that again tomorrow. This is sort of along the lines with journaling. It's number 2 on our checklist. Affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple kinds that you can do. You can do mirror affirmations. You can do journal affirmations. You can have affirmation cards. You can have an affirmation app.
One of my big affirmations is I just wake up and I just tell myself how my day is going to go. And I just say, hey, I'm going to have a good day today. I'm worthy of having a good day. I enjoy my life and everybody in it. And those are just things that I'm kind of manifesting for myself, because everything that comes out of your mouth is a manifestation. Everything that you really think with your entire being is a manifestation. So if you wake up and think, I'm going to have a good day today, you're going to have a good day. So shit might go down and it might not be the best day, but you're able to handle it a lot better if you have a positive mindset.
For those of you who struggle with saying positive things about yourself, I feel you. Mirror affirmations are very difficult for people who have difficulty being kind to themselves. It's hard to start there. So start without looking in the mirror. And if you can't easily say these things out loud, start with writing and then move to speaking and then move to the mirror. You don't have to be good at all of it at once. Just do your best. That's all you can ever do.
Yeah, I had a lot of really terrible body positivity issues, and then I started doing affirmations specifically about how I feel about myself in my own skin. And I mean, since you've known me, I know that you've seen the difference of how much I love myself
Yeah.
because I've been doing affirmations. And it feels like you're lying to yourself. It feels sometimes like you're trying to gaslight yourself. I would wake up and I would say, I love myself. I love my body. I think that I'm perfect. And it did feel like bullshit at first. But the more that you say it, you can trick yourself into believing it, and then it becomes reality.
It's a scientific thing.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Okay, so we've talked about journaling, we've talked about affirmations. What's another thing that we need? Well, this is not a physical item. Instead, it is people, a
Oh, yeah.
community.
Yeah, number 3 is a community.
When I started the spiritual journey, Alicia kept trying to get me to go do group stuff, and I could not do it. I really couldn't. After a couple years, she finally got me to go to a small group, and I got there and I felt like I was at church and I panicked and I just didn't want to do it again.
Yeah, you had a full-on panic attack, I think.
I did. So that being said, the first community you go to may not be the community for you, and that's okay. If you feel like you never fit anywhere, it's because you haven't found the place you fit yet. So I encourage you not to give up. For Alicia and I, we ended up creating a community. I couldn't find one that I was comfortable in. Alicia couldn't find one that was around here. And so she decided, hey, let's make our own. And so that's what we did. I did not think it was possible for me to be comfortable in a room with 20 other spiritualists.
Mm-hmm.
I just assumed I would have some off-putting feeling from at least one person.
For you, the trick was finding a community that aligned with you. I think that the communities that you tried at the beginning were a little too rule-based.
Oh, yeah.
And when we decided to make our community, we wanted it to be accessible to everybody, not just people who believed the same things that we believed. And community is important because you get to bounce things off of other people. You get to be in a space where you don't feel like you're crazy, where you have people validating things that have happened to you that you may feel are off or that are, I mean, we have a lot of people that come in and say, oh, things were so crazy. I thought I was having a meltdown, or I literally thought I had a brain tumor because my brain wasn't working right. And when you have people to validate, like, oh yeah, I was going through that too, then you don't feel dramatic or you don't feel crazy. And so it's important to find those people that make you feel accepted and loved through the craziness that is your spiritual journey.
And if you're out there thinking, well, I'm a hermit and I like it, I would like to point out that you're listening to this podcast.
You're already searching.
Exactly. There is a part of you who wants connection. And you know what? A podcast counts.
It does.
So check it off your checklist.
This is your community now. And I'm sure that there are hundreds of other communities that you can find to either validate or change your mind about things.
The next one's a little bit tricky. Mentor.
Finding a mentor is hard.
It is, but I also think the universe reveals it when you need it.
Absolutely. And sometimes if you have a good community, the entire community can be a mentorship. It doesn't have to be one person who knows everything, because nobody knows everything and nobody is going to be 100% aligned with you. There are a lot of people who I believe are 90% aligned with me, but nobody's spiritual journey is the same.
I will say that I'm not 100% aligned with my mentor. She has a lot of beliefs and ideas that I don't necessarily agree with, but the things that we do agree on have made such an incredible change in my life. I know without a doubt that she's the right person to be in that spot in my life.
My journey was interesting because I didn't really have a mentor. I kind of went through it by myself. I had a person who told me that I should do this work. I looked at him as a mentor for a while, but I have completely flipped and reversed everything that he taught me and made it something that felt authentic to me. And so sometimes that's what mentors do too. Also, is it weird to think that you and I are mentors to people? I mean, think about it. We are, and it's so weird because it's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Nobody does.
I feel like people think we know what we're doing, but this is your evidence that we indeed do not claim that.
No. And I think that if anybody does claim that, you need to take a long, hard
Yeah,
look
if
at.
your mentor is saying that they know everything, dude, run.
Yeah, get a new mentor.
Get a new mentor.
Okay, so that was number 4. So 4 was
Mentor.
mentor.
5 is practicing gratitude.
Ugh, that is so hard sometimes.
But why is it important?
It's important to practice gratitude because if you look at all of the good things that you have in your life, you're going to stop having such a negative outlook on things. And when you say things like, I don't have any friends, or I'm so poor, I can't afford that, or nobody loves me, or I'm so bad at everything that I do, that's what's going to start manifesting itself for you. The universe is going to give you what you're putting out. So if you practice gratitude, if you say, I'm so thankful for everything that I have such a great friend group, I have a wonderful family, I have enough money that I need to survive, I'm surrounded by love and light and beauty, and I love myself. Those are the things that the universe is going to give back to you. So practicing gratitude is a way to look at where you've been on your journey and the things that you have now and then manifesting more of those things for yourself.
And let's pretend that you aren't great at figuring out what you're grateful for because you feel like there's 0 things to be grateful for in your life. Okay, challenge accepted. Is the grass on your property alive? Be grateful for that.
Sometimes I have to wake up in the morning and say, oh my gosh, I can breathe through both of my nostrils and my throat doesn't hurt. I'm so thankful that I'm healthy today. And it's just as simple as that.
Exactly.
Or I don't have a headache this morning. Wow, that's amazing. I'm so grateful for that.
I didn't slam my toe into my bed today. I'm so grateful for that.
Is that a common issue that you have?
Yes,
Uh,
as you can see by my purple middle toe.
oh, maybe in 6 months you'll be grateful that you have a new bed that doesn't abuse you.
Yes, in 6 months I'll be grateful for my pillow top Serta sleep number
Mm,
flexible squishy mattress
that you got for free somehow.
for free.
Yes, future Abby is so grateful for that.
Future Abby is sleeping good.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so as you practice gratitude, better things will come with you because what you put out is what comes back to you.
Mhm. I will say that I stopped making jokes that I used to make all the time. I used to make jokes about, "Oh, I'm so poor," or, "Oh, I'm so old," or, "God, I'm so fat." It was like a defense mechanism. Like, if
Mhm.
I joked about that first, then nobody else could get there.
Yep.
It's
Right
like
with you.
absolutely. But I stopped doing that because I realized that the more that I said, "Oh, I'm so poor," "Oh, God, I hate my husband, he's driving me crazy," then those things would start to manifest themselves.
My big thing was I'm so dumb.
Mhm.
I'm so dumb or I'm so stupid or oh man, my memory's shit, you
Yeah.
know? And it may very well be true, but I don't need to keep putting that out there over and over and over again so that my memory, it gets even worse.
Yeah, I had to try to reframe that. So anytime I did something and I wanted to say, "Oh God, I'm so stupid," then I would say, "I'm smarter than this. I should have known this. I'm too smart for this." And that changed everything. So you're still saying the same thing, but you're flipping it around so that it's bringing something new and good and light to you.
I have noticed that you've been doing that.
Yeah. I mean, look at our
So,
plants at the shop.
oh
We
yeah.
had these pothos plants that were dead. They were 100% dead. Abby was like, "It's time to throw them away." I was like, "No, I'm not ready to throw them away yet." I took them down. I gave them each a name, which we'd had them for almost a year and I hadn't named them. And so I gave them each a name. I watered them. I talked to them every single time I come into the shop. I talk to these plants. And they are thriving and they are so green and they are so beautiful now. And it's the same thing. If you're talking to yourself like that, you're going to grow and you're going to thrive and you're going to be healthier rather than if you're just ignoring yourself and your needs or even worse, speaking negatively.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it before, but the universe is neutral, and if you speak negative things about yourself, it will just take whatever you say to be true.
And it might feel like toxic positivity, but there is a difference between always speaking kindly to yourself and toxic positivity. If something terrible happens, you don't have to say, like, "Oh, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. The universe has a plan." If something negative happens, deal with that. But if you get ahead of the situation and if you wake up in the morning and you're like, "I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to make money today. I'm going to have good friends and I'm going to have good connections today," you're putting out the energy before it happens rather than just ignoring something bad that happened.
So, in addition to practicing gratitude, that brings us to number 6, stay true to yourself. Don't listen to what everybody else says or what somebody else says just because they've been in this path longer than you.
Mhm.
That is something that people fall into a lot.
It's important to always see how things feel and how things resonate with you. If somebody is telling you something, even if they've been in the game for 20, 30, 60 years, if they're telling you something and something within you is saying, like, that doesn't feel right or that doesn't sound right to me, you should listen to that. Listen to that intuition. The thing about spirituality is that everybody's journey is different. And if somebody is telling you, you have to meditate every single day or you're not going to ascend, you have to journal, you have to be kind to everybody and never have a negative thought and only invite positive energy in. Yeah, those are all great pieces of advice, but it's not practical for everybody.
No, it's super unrealistic.
Exactly. And if it's something where you're thinking, well, if I can't do that, fuck it, I'm not even going to do any of it, it's not worth it, then that's not the kind of advice that you need to take on. So if your mentor is pushing things on you that don't feel right, if your spiritual community is saying things that you're like, that sounds a little bit off, trust that. Even if we're saying things that you're like, that's bullshit, I don't like how that
Yeah,
sounds.
listen to your gut. We don't
Yes,
care.
we don't care. We just want to help give you the tools that you need. And I think that your own intuition and staying true to yourself is the number one tool that you have at your disposal that a lot of people don't use.
And you have to ask yourself, if you're trying to figure out, is this my intuition or is this internal programming?
Mm.
You need to look for the root of what you're feeling. Does it feel off because it makes you uncomfortable? Or does it feel off because you don't feel in the most alignment when you hear that? If you feel like it doesn't align with your being, then that is your intuition. But if it's, oh man, that makes me stretch too far, it's a little uncomfortable, that might be internal programming. And that might be something you want to journal about to get to the bottom of.
There are things that you're going to hear during your spiritual journey that you won't be ready for. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that you never need to pick up. It just might be something that isn't for you right now. And you should listen to that too.
Can I say something that wasn't for you right now for a little bit and me?
Yeah.
We were very easily triggered by the word divine in the
Oh,
beginning.
yeah. And now I love that word. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I was also very triggered by God.
Mhm.
Like, anytime somebody would use the word God, I'd be like, which God are we talking
Or
about?
speaking positively about Jesus.
Exactly.
I had to heal my relationship with Jesus and
Mhm.
separate him from the religion.
Everybody's timeline is different too. Listen to yourself when it comes to your timeline. If somebody else on their journey has been doing it for 6 months and they're already super, super good at meditating, or they're really into tarot and they understand everything, and you have been on it for a year and a half and you're like, I don't know what any of this is, I'm still super confused. That's because you're going at your own pace, and that's okay too.
Along the lines of intuition, number 7 on our checklist is listening to your guides and your intuition more.
Mm-hmm.
For example, maybe don't shuffle the deck 7 times for a new answer to the same question, or else you'll get the same card 7 times.
Yeah.
Alicia, do you know anybody that's happened to?
Can't think of anything.
Oh, nobody with red hair,
Mm.
tattoos.
No, not ringing a bell.
Owns a store called Virgo Room.
That sounds a little familiar. It's true. I was guilty of that. I was also really guilty of not listening to things that came through during other readings that I got from other readers. Things that came through dreams, things that came through from my own meditations. I was very good at ignoring the answers that I did not want. And if I would have listened to my guides, my higher self, and my spirit team years earlier, I know for a fact that I would be in a different place than I was now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just wish that I would have listened earlier. There were a lot of toxic people and toxic energies that my guides kept telling me to get out of my life, and I ignored. And as soon as I finally listened and got those energies out of my life, My skin cleared up. I felt better. I lost 55 pounds. I just felt like a new person. And I know that if I would have listened to them years earlier, I would have been further along on my journey.
I'd say that that goes hand in hand with number 8 on the list, which is not holding on to toxicity,
Mm-hmm.
letting go.
I always say that it's like when somebody needs to get on the elevator, you have to let the people off on that floor before you can get on, or there's no room for you to get on.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's somebody standing in the doorway, nothing else can come through. And we have a lot of people who come to see us because they're in bad relationships, and we can see, and it's always so frustrating, and I know that you know this. I can see the person that's waiting for them. I
Oh
can
my
see them,
goodness.
and I can see that they're ready to come into this person's life, and I can see how much better my client is going to feel and how much better their life is going to be, but they're holding on to this person, this toxic energy that is taking up so much space in their life, and the new good person can't come in. And it's frustrating for us as readers because we see that, but we couldn't see it for ourselves.
People always say, "Oh, I don't know what it is that's holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is that's holding me back," but
Or
you know.
or they come in. People will come in and they'll say, "I've already let everything go. I don't have anything that I'm holding on to that I'm not supposed to have." That's not true. Like,
Yeah.
you know. Okay, so if you're listening, close your eyes right now and just 3, 2, 1, think of the thing that you need to let go of. What popped into your head? Because it's always there. It's right there. What popped into your head, Abby? You can't say it, can you?
I literally cannot say it.
Okay. So you know,
So
it's
yeah, you always know the big thing that you're supposed to let go of, you always know what it is. It's right there in your mind because your intuition is already saying, "Hey, this is not in your best interest." You just have to be brave enough to jump. And sometimes there are other factors that keep you from jumping, like the well-being of other people. But if it's not in your best and highest interest, I guarantee you there's a way to let it go and have everything be okay.
and it can be really scary. You might have to completely let go of your family, your entire support system. You might have to quit a job that you've been at for 20 years or a very high paying job. You might have to have a friend break up, or you might even have to get rid of your house, sell your house and move somewhere across the country or across the world. Things are very difficult when you're letting go and you're making yourself uncomfortable. A lot of people stay in toxic energy because they're comfortable in it. The best way to grow on your spiritual path is to be a little bit uncomfortable.
The longer you hold on to something that you know isn't in your best interest, and the more you grow, the harder it's going to be to hold on to because the less and less it's going to align with yourself.
And it's already slipping away. It's slipping away little by little. You just don't realize it.
Bad.
I'm sorry.
Step 9.
Number 9.
Number 9 is being open-minded.
Mm-hmm. That
Why,
was easy for me.
why don't you take that for us?
When you're open minded, it is accepting other people's journey, even if it doesn't look like your own. If you're not open minded, you will miss out on opportunities because you think that they're not possible or they're not feasible or they're not real. Be open to everything, but still be selective about what feels good to you. It doesn't mean you have to discount those things. It just means that, you have a buffet. You don't have to eat everything on the buffet. You can just choose the things that look good to you. Respect is the big thing.
Right.
Because we do have people that come into our circles or come into group and they say, "Hey, I got this message. They said that the world is going to end next week. What do I do about it?" And then we have to kind of talk them off that ledge and say, "Listen, I think that what you have heard and what you've received is true, but I think that it's probably different than how you're interpreting it. Maybe something in your world is going to end, your relationship, your job, something. But that doesn't mean that the earth is going to explode."
Right.
But we're still open-minded to hold space for that person and understand that they feel like that is real and it is real to them.
Today was all about trying to make your spiritual journey a little bit easier. We really want to know what you guys think. What would you suggest for a spiritual survival checklist? Did we miss something that you think would be beneficial and why?
All right. So that has been your spiritual journey survival checklist
With Abby and Alicia.
with Abby and Alicia.
Dun dun dun.